Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Scott Roussel, Football Scoop Podcast. Got Zach Barnett, Doug Samuels on to join me. Kind of a reaction to news from last night, early this morning, I guess we should say. UNLV's quarterback has announced that he's going to stop playing for the season. And there's a lot going on there. And I just felt like it'd make a lot of sense to get us together and share our thoughts because there's nuance to this conversation. There's a lot of things involved here. Some of which might continue to play out in the next couple of weeks. But with that said, Zach, can I ask you to give us kind of some background as to how we got here, what transpired, and then we can talk about what this means?
Absolutely. So Matthew Sluka transferred into UNLV because UNLV lost its starting quarterback last season to be a backup at USC. So Sluka was a two-time Walter Payton Award finalist at Holy Cross. With the Walter Payton, for those who don't know, is basically the FCS version of the Heisman. He's a dual threat quarterback. He's the Holy Cross all-time leader in passing efficiency, while also being second in career rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. Through 3 games this season, he's 21 of 48. Obviously not great, but he's thrown 6 touchdowns, 1 interception. He leads the team in rushing, and the team's 3-0. UNLV is ranked in the coaches poll, which is the first time they've ever been ranked in any major poll, I believe, or first time in a long time. Either way, they're 3-0. They're the Mountain West favorites. They're very much in the mix to make the college football playoff. Until at 11:36 Central Time last night, Sluka tweeted, and I quote, "I have decided to utilize my redshirt year and will not be playing in any additional games this season. I committed to UNLV based on certain representations that were made to me, which were not upheld after I enrolled. Despite discussions, it became clear that these commitments would not be fulfilled in the future. I wish my teammates the best of luck this season and hope for the continued success of the program," end quote. So it's since been since the morning has arrived in Las Vegas, it's since been reported by various outlets that Sluka has met his obligations and since hired an agent and asked for a raise based on the start to the season. Whether that's true, we don't know. But I think let's start here. I think we can all agree if, let's say he was promised $300,000 and thus far he's been paid zero, that's wrong, right? And UNLV deserves to get what it got if he'd been paid nothing. If he had been promised $300,000 and been paid prorated $300,000 and said, you know what, my market's hot, I want $500,000, and UNLV said, no, we're not going to do that, then Sluka is in the wrong. If the truth is somewhere in the middle, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Doug, I'd like to hear your thoughts. I know you shared on Twitter this morning. You can see this side and you can see that side. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I tweeted this morning, after I saw Zach's piece in the news and reading a little bit more about it, I was torn whether to applaud Sluka for holding UNLV accountable for promises that were made and not delivered. Obviously, that was before the most recent reports came out about maybe he went back and asked for a raise. But, there's also the coach in me and the former college player and high school player in me that I'd be a little mad for him leaving his team. A team that you committed to and coaching staff you committed to. And since putting out that tweet, I've had a number of people reach out and be like, hey, the adults are the ones here that really deserve the brunt of this. They didn't uphold their promises. It's probably this is the state of college football where it is right now. Like if you want it to be a business, then don't be mad at kids who are treating it like a business. And then, the whole other layer that I don't think I'm probably smart enough to really understand is the collective bargaining that is maybe around the corner and that kind of stuff. And I think that's a better question for you two to tackle. But there's so many layers to this thing that it's hard to be hard on one side without knowing all the facts.
I find the most disappointing thing here is that nobody really understands where we are as college football. There is no leader. There is no leadership. The NCAA, is just, they've failed miserably. We all know that. And it's not even fun to pile on them. But the fact that the university presidents have not come forth and said, this is our model, and this is what is in the best interest of the universities, the players, everything, all the constituents. And nobody's been able to figure out that common ground. Doug, you said if it's a business, then okay, well, if it was a business, there would have been a defined contract and we wouldn't be in this mess. But there's this nebulous, people had made commitments to me and they're not being upheld, and representations were made. Well, in any business, representations need to be on paper and say, hey, black and white, this is what we said, this is the deal. I think about the young man. I presume he's being advised, hopefully by his family and others that truly have his best interests at heart. This is good for you. And maybe it's a short-term, couple $100,000. I don't know. Man, it's hard to see that this is good for any person. You're at Holy Cross living out your dream and you did very well. And a lot of people would say, and that earns you the opportunity to go make some money. Not in the NFL yet, but here at UNLV. And that's the offer you accepted. And you go there and you play 3 games and then you say, hey guys, I got to tap out. They didn't live up to their deal. So I got a year left. I'm going to sit now and then I'll go play somewhere else. Chasing a bag. It just, I don't know. I mean, a lot of guys who go play at Holy Cross or Holy Crosses of the world, those are really good future leaders of the country. These are great people, especially at a quarterback position. And then to go chase a bag, if you look at his stats over 3 games, Zach, it struck me, he was the career leader in passing efficiency at Holy Cross. I don't think he's only 3 games. I don't think he's had a game where he's passed for 50%. He rushed for 100 yards in one of the games and rushed for 60 yards. And, clearly a good player. Clearly. It just doesn't feel good at all. Nothing feels good about the situation.
Yeah, I'm number of thoughts. First of all, I go back to being at the AFCA convention and listening to former executive director Todd Berry talk about one of his pet projects was passing the 4-game redshirt rule and how good that would be for college football, and how he had to, in his time as a coach at Army and ULM, just feeling terrible about burning kids' red shirts to protect the safety of other players or putting players out there that probably shouldn't be there to protect this guy's red shirt late in the year, and how the 4-game red shirt would alleviate some of that. And it's just another example of how in life no good deed goes unpunished. Because if this 4-game red shirt rule wasn't in place, then he wouldn't have this option. His season would be burned. This would be his final year. I still think the rule is a good thing in totality. It's just another example to me of how no good deed goes unpunished. When I look at Sluka, I assume he got paid next to nothing to be Holy Cross's quarterback. Are we safe in assuming that? I also assume he's not going to be an NFL quarterback. So chances are this is his only opportunity. His senior season, whether it be 24, 25, is his only opportunity to make money playing football. And who are we to say, no, young man, you can't do that? And so much of this boils down to what was written on the paper, as you said, Scott, and we don't have access to that. If he'd been promised a dollar amount and it's nothing or significantly lower than that, then it's hard to fault him for that. If the rumors are true that he decided that, hey, my market's greater than what you're paying me, pay up or I'm out, it's hard to come down on his side. And I'm also feel sympathetic to UNLV and to all the players on that team and all the coaches on that team, or in the middle of what could be a dream season now ripped out from under them. It's hard to imagine that they're going to play to their maximum ability without their starting quarterback. And I assume Barry Odom's been in communication with the money people at UNLV saying, hey, we got to handle this. This is not a good thing. Part of me wonders if this is a negotiating tactic and that maybe he comes back. Maybe he's burned his bridges with his teammates. Although it seems like this generation of kids seem to be more of, hey, you go get yours, and we support you in that. I don't have any overarching take, but into what you said, Doug, if there's not an impetus to, we need to have collective bargaining where everyone has some sort of standard contract and you can't opt out mid-season, that's desperately needed because there's a reason the NFL, the NBA, any truly professional enterprise doesn't operate this way.
Hey, two quick thoughts. One, like near future, and one a little bit further down the road. Number one, I'm interested to hear what Barry Odom says at a weekly press conference or a post-practice press conference, because this is going to be the story that dominates college football news for the week. And I'm not sure he's allowed to say anything. So what he says or doesn't say, I think, is going to be very, very interesting. And then secondly, and Zach probably understands this as good as anyone, is the quarterback market for transfers is bonkers. What does if Sluka doesn't play for the rest of the year, what does his market look like for other teams? Is this a black eye for him that he just quit on his team, or is this, what's that look like for him? I think is a big question for down the road.
That's a great point. I can't imagine any Power 4 school is looking at a quarterback that's 21 of 48 at UNLV saying we need to bet the farm on this guy. I can't imagine this helps his market. But again, we don't really know what his market is because we don't know the particulars of what he has or has not been paid at UNLV. And obviously, if you're the head coach of a school going into making your quarterback decision, which I wrote about yesterday for the site, and you go to your collective and say, guys, I want you to whatever we have allocated for our QB1, spend it on this guy who quit on his team 3 games in and is well below 50, not well below, but below 50% passing against a tough schedule so far for UNLV. They've beaten Houston, they've beaten Kansas, but not exactly a murderer's row of top competition in college football either.
Yeah, and it's going to be a one and done, 1 year. And, the track record of success, especially recently, like this year, isn't great for those. A bunch of glaring examples of guys not thriving in that role. Couple of other thoughts. So we all played high school football. Doug, you played college football. You now are a head high school football coach. Can you imagine a guy just, hey teammates, sorry, but I'm out. They didn't uphold their deal. I'm out.
I can't, but I think it's also part of the price that you pay for getting a quarterback from the transfer portal. Like he's probably a guy that came in 8 weeks ago or something, so he doesn't have like a bond that a fresh kid that had been developed there as a freshman and sophomore and had been around those guys the whole time. So I think it's a lot easier to check out as a transfer portal quarterback that's been there a little bit and had success than it would be for someone that had been there 3 or 4 years and had a bunch of relationships with coaches and players. So I think that's, again, product of the environment that we're in today.
One of the other things that comes to mind when this first happens is you're in Las Vegas, and the fact that UNLV, the university, hasn't been able to cultivate enough of a base from, I hate to say it, but the casinos, there's so much economy there. And so many moguls there, and so many people who love to go to Las Vegas and see Las Vegas thrive in the entertainment capital of the world. How they can't come up with what they need there to thrive, I struggle. I don't understand.
Yeah, and that's another great point because obviously I assume the UNLV coaches were not blindsided by this. There's had to have been discussions going back and forth for days, weeks, and they had to have known on some level this was coming. So I go back to, is this a negotiating ploy? Have they not been able to reach out and call a casino, say, hey, we need $100,000. Can you get it for us? We'll make it back to you in the future. But we have the makings of a special season here. When we make the playoff, we'll host a party at your place, something like that. It seems to be, this is big money, but when you're Vegas, you're talking couch cushion money.
Seriously. I mean, yes, well said.
I think that the other issue that needs to be talked about is how bad this hurts recruiting for UNLV. To have a player say, "Hey, I was promised this stuff and it didn't pan out," like that's not a good look for UNLV, and goes right hand in hand with what Scott was just talking about. Like you've got the best town in the group of five, like city in group of five, as far as resources and connections and things like that. To not be able to get that done is a huge black eye.
Yeah. Another, thing that comes to mind is, and we touched on this, but you're in the transfer portal. You're anybody in life, and you're about to make a life decision to move somewhere, to go somewhere. Make sure you understand the deal. Make sure the deal is written. Make sure you fully understand what you're stepping into in all situations. Job changes, life changes, anything. It's really important, and communicate and make sure you're all on the same page.
Great point.
I don't know that we're going to solve this one today, guys, but it's stunning, and it's not a great look. It's a bad look, and I'm disappointed that college football leadership has allowed us to get to places where this can happen.
This is the best sport with the worst leadership.
Truth.
A new moniker for the game of football. You guys are awesome. All right. With the Football Scoop staff, footballscoop.com. He's at Zach _Barnett, Coach Sam's. I'm Football Scoop. We're out.